One of the biggest tracking elements within SnagPad is what is referred to as OAI. And OAI stands for Opportunity, Applieds, and Interviews. And essentially that mirrors what's on the pad. So the first column is opportunity, the second column is applied, and the fourth column is interview. And ultimately, when it comes to tracking job search performance, you want to look at what's the ratio between those three areas. So what are the opportunities to apply, then the applieds to interviews. Essentially what that OAI becomes is a forecasting tool. So based on certain activity up front, it produces a certain output. So the example of 10, 6, and 1 really represents that in order to get one interview, I've got to identify 10 opportunities and apply to 6. SnagPad keeps track of that number automatically for the job seeker themselves. So they don't have to write it down, they don't have to record it. It's almost like a point and click type of effort within SnagPad that keeps track of that activity. How that becomes useful to you as a career practitioner is that you can see where things are happening that are not in keeping with a successful or a strategic job search. So based on your OAI status in your SnagPad account, you had a 40, 20, and 1. Could you talk a bit about those 40 opportunities you identified?
Yes, well, I did notice, as we talked before, from my hidden job market indicator that a lot of my opportunities had been found online. So I really wanted to try and identify opportunities from other sources over the past 2 weeks, which worked out well, actually, because one of my challenges had asked me to reach out to new contacts, and I was able to find some opportunities through those new contacts that I made. So I'm happy that now my hidden job market indicator shows that some of my opportunities are coming from different sources.
One of the strategies within SnagPad, and actually the only one that's required by the job seeker, is determining whether or not the opportunity they're looking at is a job A or job B. When examining the job A, it's important for every job seeker to understand what knowledge, skills, and abilities are required for that position. It's critical that the job seeker know what the job is about. And the neat thing about the knowledge, skills, and abilities, which are essentially competencies, is the same language or same approach an employer uses to selecting candidates for the position. So an employer has an understanding of what behaviors need to be exhibited on the job. So when they're looking for candidates, they're going to ask those types of behavioral questions. So what SnagPad does is it prepares the job seeker up front to be able to look at what competencies are required for the particular opportunity that they're looking for in their job A. Built into SnagPad is a database of competencies for different types of positions. So what the system actually does is when the user enters their job A, it brings back a list of knowledge, skills, and abilities that allows that individual to rate them on a scale of 1 to 5. 1 being I'm not competent at all, 5 being I'm fully competent in that particular area. This helps the practitioner in a couple of ways. One, it helps to prepare for the resume. Essentially, a resume is made up of not only tasks but accomplishment, but behaviors that were exhibited in a particular position. And within SnagPad, bringing that knowledge, skills, and abilities does the work for them. The second component is the interview. When clients go out on interviews, in most cases, employers are asking behavioral type questions or situational questions. For example, can you think of a conflict that you had in the past with a colleague and how you dealt with it and what was the outcome? By going through this ahead of time, it gets the client to think in advance in terms of what sort of things are going to approach them in the job search. And it, in fact, helps them to prepare. The second element to this whole thing of identifying the competencies is if they do decide to take a job B, they can think about how that job B could build on the gaps that they've identified in their competencies for their job A. So this means if they don't have much experience in conflict resolution or being a collaborator, the job Bs that they do look for, they can make sure that they have those opportunities so they can enhance those skills. So down the road, when an opportunity presents itself for their job A and they're speaking to that employer and they're putting a resume and cover letter, they can use that experience to enhance their position as well as make themselves more competitive against other candidates.